So a little over 2 months ago, someone had told me that, Mercy, you're going to make so many mistakes in the next 2 months. That is going to nearly make you homeless. You're going to get served a Section 21. A Section 21 is like a pre-eviction notice. I wouldn't have believed them. But yes, it did happen to me and I experienced it. And I'm here to share my story so that you who is watching me will not make such mistakes, because, hey, yeah. So when you come into the UK, and especially when you're coming to work with a trust, they usually would give you 3 free months accommodation. At least most trusts do, okay? And my trust wasn't any different. When I first arrived into the country, they gave us 3 free months accommodation, and they told us that after the 3 months, we had to find our own places to live. So I think a few weeks to the 3 months ending, we started searching for a property. And I found this really nice property. It was in the same area where we were living, and it was close to work. If I got this property, it would mean that I wouldn't have to take a bus or a train to work. I could literally just walk to work. I think it was like 10 to 15 minutes walk to my workplace. So I put in my application. And this is how the renting in the UK works. So there are certain apps where people advertise their properties. Sometimes they are advertised directly by the landlords themselves, or sometimes landlords would give their properties to letting agents. Letting agents are like agencies that would rent out the property and deal with everything with the tenants while the landlord sits down and relax. Okay, so some properties are advertised by letting agents or agencies, and some by landlords themselves. So this property that I found was being rented by a letting agent. So I put in my application and the landlord chose me. So I had to do all the reference checks and everything. If I passed it, then I would get the property. So I did do the reference and everything, but then because the property was like a 2-bedroom apartment, and at that time I think I was band 3, I could not afford to pay it. You needed to have been earning a certain amount, and I wasn't earning that amount at that particular time. So they said they will not give me the property. I literally had to beg. I even asked a friend to come stay with me, but she wasn't interested. The property was like a 3rd floor apartment. It wasn't double glazed, so I think that was why the price was as low as a single bedroom apartment. And I actually really liked it. Plus I had plans for a 2-bedroom apartment, so yeah. Anyway, so I begged them, really. I sent them an email. I said, could you please speak with the landlord? I'm going to be earning their said salary threshold within 2 months or so, and I'll be able to pay my rent. You shouldn't worry. So they spoke to the landlord. The landlord considered me and rented the property to me. And I was living in that property for 3 good years. And it had its problems, but I was content, really. Until recently, when I said I had to move, what happened? I found what looked like the dried leech under my radiator. This thing, there was something like a dried leech there. I was just sweeping and I found it, and it scared me a lot. If you know me, I hate anything that crawls. I hate anything that crawls. So it actually freaked me out. So I overreacted and I rang the letting agent and I said, I don't want to rent this property anymore. When I told these people I wanted to move, I had 1 month left, I think. 1 month and maybe 2 weeks left to move. So they said, okay, if you want to move out by this date. I hadn't found a new place. I hadn't even started searching for a new place, but I already told them I wanted to move, which was my very first mistake. If you are planning to move out of your property, make sure that you at least have found somewhere, or you are referencing some place before. And I did not do that. So when I got the email that I had to move by this date, I started seriously searching for a place. I found this place on one of the renting apps, which I thought was nice, really. It was decent. It wasn't a 2-bedroom apartment. It was a 1-bedroom apartment, but it was decent. It looked new and clean. And I also have this thing about bathrooms and kitchens and stuff. So anywhere that I want to move in, I prefer like a new bathroom, new kitchen. If they're not new, it should at least be clean. Okay, not one of those old ones. Ew. Anyway, so this property that I found had a newly renovated kitchen, a newly renovated bathroom. So I put in my application. And then they told me that, oh, you need to come for viewing. You need to come and see the property and then put in an application. And the day that they were going to do the viewing was a day that I would have been working. So initially I asked a friend's husband whether he was available that day to go and look at the property for me. But I think that day he was having a training and I didn't want to inconvenience him. Okay. So I asked the letting agents I asked them if they did virtual viewing and they said that they did. So I was like, that's perfect because I don't want to inconvenience my friend's husband anyway. So I said, okay, can I have a virtual viewing? They said, yes, why not? We'll FaceTime you on that day, so keep your phone closed. So on the said day, I was at work that day. They phoned me. I had to excuse myself and go and receive the call. The lady stood at the entrance of the room, entered the room, says, this is where the kitchen is, this is where the bathroom is, this is your bedroom. So I liked it. Honestly, when she showed me, I liked the property. And I said, okay, I like it. Can I put my application through? She said, yes. Okay. This was where I made my second mistake. What she showed me on the video was just the room. I did not see the outside of the room. I did not see the outside of the building. I did not see what it took to get to the room. And yet I put an application through. Anyway, they came back to me saying the landlord had selected me and he was happy to rent the property for me, provided I passed references. And I also had to pay a holding deposit. Yes, holding deposits are legal. Anyway, so I had to pay a holding deposit of, I think, £178. But in my spirit, something was telling me, Miss, don't do it. You haven't seen the property physically. Don't do it. So I took my time. I said, oh, send the money by the end of today. I took my time. I was pondering. I was thinking about it. Should I do it? Should I not do it? Because the time that these people gave me was running out at this point. I think at that point, I had like 3 weeks left to move out from where I was living. So I said, okay, fine. What she showed me on video was nice, so no problem. I went ahead and I paid the holding deposit, which was mistake number 3. Don't pay a holding deposit for a place that you've not used your eye to see. Never do that mistake. And even when I was doing it, my spirit was telling me don't do it, but I still disobeyed my guts, my conscience. Was it the voice of God? I disobeyed and I went ahead and paid. So anyway, the only information I had about this property was what was advertised on the rental, apps and stuff. So after I paid, they did my references and I passed referencing. And then they gave me a day to come and sign the documents. That's the contract. So on that particular day, I went in, I signed the tenancy agreement and they gave me the keys. Okay. While I was signing, I think the Holy Spirit was still talking to me, don't do it. But my son day, like I'm obstinate. Hey, mercy. I still went ahead and I did it. So I took the key, went to the property. Guys, to say that I was disappointed is an understatement. They told me that this building was by the sea. Yes, it was by the sea, but not where my room was. So it's like 2 blocks joined together, and in between, is a balcony. So you enter from the front block, go through the front block, go through a balcony, go all the way to the second block, and then climb to the second floor. I was disappointed. Yes, the room itself was nice, but to get to the room is another problem. So I even took pictures. I showed a couple of people, asked for their opinions. Not many people had nice things to say, So I said, okay, I don't like this property. I'm not going to take it. Yes, I had already signed tenancy agreement, and by law, the property was now mine. So immediately I sent them an email. I think it must have been 4 hours after I had signed that tenancy agreement. I sent them another email. I said, I do not want to rent this property anymore. because you told me, first of all, they said there was a lift in the property, but the lift was only in the front block, not at my end. And then you told me it was facing the sea. It's not facing the sea. It's in the corner of the second block. So you don't get a view of the sea, nothing like that. And even the lift that was on the front block, it was not working. So I told them, no, I don't want to rent this property. So they didn't get back to me. I actually even called them, followed up with a call. They didn't get back to me. They told me that the letting agent that rented the property to me is out doing viewings. That means showing other people other properties. And when she comes back to the office, they'll let her know. I never got a reply, and it was a Friday until the next Monday, which means that I now had 2 weeks left on my other property to move out. So she replied my message. She didn't actually reply. I rang her again Monday morning, first thing. She said, oh, Mercy, I was just about replying your email. So because you've already signed the tenancy agreement, the property is now yours. There is no way to come out of this property unless you find someone that is a like replacement for yourself. And what they mean by like replacement is someone that works full-time, is going to be living in the property alone, does not have a pet, and their credits is good. Okay. And I was going to be responsible for finding such a person. I'm just a nurse. I'm not a letting agent. Even UK is not my country. How do I even know how to do viewings, advertise the property, do viewings, like select people, and then rent the property out? I said, please, can you do all these things? I don't mind. You can take my deposit. You can charge me for marketing fees. But I don't want to do the whole thing. They were like, I'm sorry, there's no other option. You have to do it by yourself. Okay. They even suggested, they said, oh, properties go pretty quick on Facebook Marketplace. If you list the property on Facebook Marketplace, you may actually find someone today. So I went back up and listed the property. Mind you, this property, where the location too was like far away from my workplace, so it was because of the urgency of how I wanted it. That's why I took it, and I didn't mind taking a bus. But with everything combined, I felt like it was too much. It was going to be just too much for me. So I listed the property on Facebook, and I actually paid, I think I paid £49 to list it on open rent. So open rent is where landlords list their own properties. So ideally, all properties on open rent are being advertised by the landlords themselves. I paid £49 to list that property on open rent. I think the next day, within 24 hours, I got a couple of requests, and I arranged viewings. And I do not live in that town, and I do not drive, at the time. So I had to pick a bus, trains up to and fro every day if I wanted to hold a viewing. At the end, I got a couple of people, and I sent their names to them, and I waited to hear back from the landlord. I think for about a week. Well, the landlord has not yet selected someone. He's still going through the list. We're just waiting to hear back from the landlord. And time is going. At this point, I have like 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks even to move out from the property where I was. Anyway, so when that thing happened, I decided to go back to my previous landlord where I was staying for 3 years, just to beg him to say, things have changed. I'm no longer going to move. That landlord responded by serving me a Section 21, a pre-eviction letter. Guys, at that point, I just broke down and I cried because I had 2 weeks. It was just two weeks for my tenancy over there to expire. And I also did not take the other property. I had already also given them notice that I'm not moving into there. So I wasn't here and I wasn't there. So I decided to find another property. Yes, a third property. You say this girl is crazy, but I had no choice. So I quickly went onto the apps again and I found another property. It was also in my area. And I called them straight away and said, can I come and view this property today? They said, oh, why not? Yeah, sure. And because it was close to where I was living, I just had to walk there. And I had already seen this property when I was looking before, but I do not like something about the sink. I do not like something about the sink. So I was like, I don't like this property. But when I actually got to see the sink, it was no big deal. So I decided to take the property. It was much nicer. It was spacious, had a garden in front. It was by the train station. So like it was very convenient for me. Okay, so I said I would love this property and I have to move like next week. Can we make this happen? She said yes, so long as I passed my references and I had a guarantor. I was like, guarantor? Say yes. Anyway, I thought guarantor was like somebody just giving you reference. No, for someone to be your guarantor, they are literally putting their neck on the line, saying that if you don't pay your rent, they'll pay it for you. And at the time that I was desperate, I did not give it much thought. I just said okay. So he made me apply, and then within a short time I was doing my references. Of course I passed the references. I was so scared that because I had declined the other property, it was going to affect my credit, and then it was going to give me bad credit. So this new landlord would not want to rent a property to me, but that did not happen. So I was able to rent this new property within, I think, a week and some days. My move out and moving date was the same day that my other rent was expiring. I did not want to stay one single day past my due date. So I moved out and I moved to my new property. That means that at a point in time, I had 3 properties under my name where I was living for the past 3 years, where I went to collect and said I didn't want again, and where I had now collected and was moving to. And in all of these 3 properties, I had paid deposits and I had paid rent. So imagine the amount of money that I lost. Anyway, so I moved into the new property, and then that old one was off my list. So now I had just 2 properties in my name where I did not want and where I am currently living. So now I had to focus on renting the other one out. Guys, if I tell you the stress, if I bring this person, the letting agent will say, no, they have a family. If I bring this person, they'll be like, no, they smoke. If I bring this person, they'll say, no, they do this, they are on universal credit, or they don't work full time, or they are self-employed or something. It was always one thing after another. They did that until my rent that I had paid initially expired. And I was trying to find someone to replace me so that I don't have to pay the next rent, but that did not work. I had to pay another rent, which means that I was paying 2 rents again, where I'm living now and where I took and did not want, which is another word, loss of money. Eventually I found a nurse, and he did not smoke. He lived, I think at the time, in a hospital accommodation, and he was willing to rent it as soon as possible. I sent this man's name forward, and the agency came back and told me he has bad credit, and because of that he's not a like replacement. You'd have to go again and then do another viewing. And this letting agency, I leave them to God. They actually stressed me out. I had the weekend after they told me that I had to go and quickly do another viewing. I did a viewing, found 2 more people, even more like replacements than the nurse. Only for another person from the letting agent to call me that, oh, actually, she did not even tell me. She said, actually, we found a replacement. So I was like, who is the replacement? So I cannot tell you that. I'm like, you cannot tell me what? I am the one doing the viewings. I am the one stressing myself, going up and down to do the viewings. Oh, she said she cannot tell me. And this was because they did something that was illegal. And I'm not going to say it on camera, but they did something that they knew was illegal. And the man, apparently, he sent me a WhatsApp message later that he had to send them a very strong worded email that what they did was illegal and they could be in so much trouble for. And then they had to rescind their decision and then accepted him again. So that means that I wasted my weekend holding viewings when they could have actually accepted the man in the first place. Plus the fact that they said he had bad credit and they still took him in and declined other people who also had bad credit, made the whole purpose like futile, because they're telling me that this person, you declined all those many people because they had bad credit, yet you are giving the tenancy to this person who has bad credit just because you messed up. So I sent them an email. I was very annoyed that you've wasted my time, You could have given this tenancy to this man long time ago, and I didn't even have to pay another rent, you know. Or they replied, oh, they are doing everything they can, blah 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 blah. I would not advise anyone to rent with these letting agents, on God. I went to read some of their reviews on the internet after that, and I wish I had researched them before renting this property. So anyway, they finally rented the property to this nurse. But even with that, the back and forth, oh, come today to sign the deed of surrender. So when you rent a property in the UK and you sign the tenancy agreement, the property is in your name. But if you want to end it before the due date that you signed it for, you have to sign something called the deed of surrender, which means that you cannot come back and say, oh, the landlord evicted you illegally. Okay, it's just to say that you are giving up the property. Okay, at the end I signed that a deed of surrender, and although they told me I wasn't going to pay for marketing fees and blah blah blah, I had to pay another £100 from my hard-earned money, because they said they had printed this, they had printed that, and blah blah blah. So I had to pay another £100 just to get back my deposit. I have spent money. And one lesson that I learned is that when you're in the UK and you find yourself in such a situation, there's no way people back home or family back home is going to send you money. How much are they going to send? That would equate to £2,000 and over. How much would they send? And people were advising me, oh, speak to Citizens Advice. I did speak with Citizens Advice, but they were of no much help to me. I spoke to someone from the gentleman who was like, this situation looks like a civil matter. He's going to give me a number to a solicitor, that's a lawyer, to speak to. And that I was going to get 30 minutes free consultation from this lawyer. And if I wanted them to take up my case, I would have to pay. Okay. So I rang these people, and the date that they gave me was like way after I had paid the second rent. So I said no. But then even when things delayed and I still rang them, I said I need that 30 minutes free consultation just to, speak my case, know if I've got a case or not. It was, oh, they'll call you today, you speak to someone today, but nobody ever called from that company. I don't know if they are busy. I don't know if they don't want any customers, or because it's free consultation, they don't care. Nobody ever called me back. I finally had the opportunity to speak to another company. They also will give you 30 minutes free consultation. So I spoke with someone from there, and he said that I have done well with all of the decisions that I've made, because this case had the potential of becoming very nasty, of blowing up into something that would have been bigger. So I've handled everything well. However, if I want the lawyer to take up my case, see if I've got a case, try to get back my money for me and all that, I would pay them £189. I was like, if I had £189, would I be ringing you to collect my money for me? I did not have £189 at this point. I had spent so much. I wasn't willing to spend even £1 on anything. I just wanted this to be over with, and for me to get as much money that I could from this whole situation. So I did not use them. So from the beginning to the end, Citizens Advice did not help me. One website that helped me was Shelter. I got a lovely lady from there who spoke to me and advised me. She made me know that when you are terminating a contract, the landlord has every right to charge you whatever amount he has cost in trying to change the tenancy. Okay, and she said that I should require them to send me an invoice, because you need proof to show that this is how much I have spent in trying to change the tenancy. So when the agency said I had to pay £100, I said, okay, fine, so long as you can show me an invoice. Guys, they sent me a random invoice, something about fire, something. I said, that's the wrong invoice you're sending me. Send me an invoice to show that the reason I'm paying for this £100 is because you spent this amount here, you spent that amount there. Then she sent me another invoice, and the address on that invoice was even wrong. So I knew at this point they were just trying to get my money. They were just trying to take £100 I don't know, for all the stress that they have also gone through or what, but they couldn't give me a proper evidence that they had spent £100 in doing this or in doing that. But at that particular time, I was also fed up and tired. I was like, take whatever you want to take, give me back whatever I'm due. I just want this over and done with. So finally, they sent me my amount, the rest of my deposit, after subtracting their £100. And then my tenancy was due to end on the 26th, okay, and the guy moved in on the 24th. So that means that I had 2 more days of rent. I also said I'll not let it go. I said, landlord, give me back my 2 days rent. Yes, because I paid this rent to the 26th, and this guy moved in on the 24th. If I calculate now, you owe me like £50 point something. Pay me back my money. At first, the letting agent said, oh, the landlord said he wasn't going to pay me back any money because he'd spent so much money referencing about 6 people and blah, blah, blah. And I said, it is illegal. If he says he's not going to pay me, that's illegal. And the whole change of tenancy thing would not have caused any problem. But if that landlord had failed to pay me back my £50 or the rest of the 2 days that I did not live in that property, that would have been a very big issue. It would have been a court issue, yes, for just £50, because I didn't move into your property. I told you I didn't like it, so I wasn't going to. Yes, I had signed the tenancy agreement, but I never moved into the property. So what are you charging me for? I didn't use your gas, I didn't use your lights, I didn't use your water. What are you then charging me for? Anyway, so after I received my deposit, I think 2 days after, the landlord also sent me his £50. I think it was 50.9 or something. And I got my money back. And looking back, I would not wish this on anyone. Today I'm sitting here and I'm telling it like it's an easy something, but it's not. The disappointment and the heartbreak of doing a viewing or holding a viewing and then waiting 2 weeks and then to receiving a call telling you that the person that you suffered to get is not appropriate, go and look for another person. I told my matron this and she was like, Mess, you're actually brave that you signed a tenancy agreement and refused to go in. It wasn't until she said this that it dawned on me that it was actually a big deal that you signed a tenancy agreement and not move into a property. But it wasn't my fault. It wasn't how they advertised it to be. And I did not see it with my eyes. I only saw it on a video call. And they did not show me the whole thing, only part of it. So it was not my fault, which is why I thought I had a case. But then I had to pay $189 just for the lawyer to go through to see if I really had a case. I currently live in a property that I like, and the other gentleman is living in that property, and everyone is happy. But I would never, ever recommend anyone to use that letting agent. And I can't say their name on video because I don't want to get sued. I don't want any lawsuit. I did my best to try to avoid any court issue. I didn't want any court problem because there are certain things that I could have done, but I just wanted to avoid the whole thing going to court. So I played it safe. But one day, if I find out that I can actually sue these people, I will, because the stress, emotional stress that I went through, the money that I wasted, I literally have to start from the beginning. I literally have to start saving again because, guys, anyway, if you've had any bad experience like that with rent in the UK, please share your story in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, and if you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.